Dane and Jeff's Media Dump is recorded under the influence of alcohol in front of a live studio audience. Baja Blast.
I find that one is okay, unless you actually drink Taco Bell with it. Then for some reason it completely changed its flavor to something magical.
I can't just drink regular Mountain Dew. It makes me sick on my stomach where it's so acidic. But the Baja Blast don't do it. Don't know why.
I've really cut back on soda just because of the fact that a few years ago I had kidney stones, and I don't want that pain on anybody. That was the worst experience I ever had to deal with. I actually was rushed to the hospital just because the pain was so severe. And they were putting me on morphine, and I think it took about another hour before it finally kicked in. It's like, can you not make the pain go away any faster? It's like, I'm sorry, they're like regulations. Just like, you sons of bitches. I'm in pain here.
Like, you're not a cancer patient, sir. I'm like, I don't care.
You don't have a sharp piece of jagged rock tearing your innards. I mean, seriously, actually, it was funny. The passing of the stone, when it actually goes out the dick, it didn't bother me too much. It was just like a little, oh, it's gone. It was just the 2 days where it was traveling from my bladder to my dick. And it's just one of those, oh my God. I probably lost maybe 10 pounds because I could not eat. I was in so much pain.
I had one and it took about 2 days from start to finish on mine. And I'm pretty sure where mine was going, it was the kidney to the bladder that hurt me so damn bad. Yeah. Apparently I have just a gaping urethra, and either that or it's still rattling around in there and I'm waiting on that fucking time bomb.
Well, it's funny because my job requires, if you call off work 3 days in a row, you're required by law to get a doctor's note saying, yes, you're okay to return to work. Well, on the third day, here I am. I'm like, okay, I'm going to fight through the day. I got my meds. I'm just going to chug a bunch of water, and I'm just going to get through this day. So I'm like, okay, it's like 5 minutes before I drive to work. It's like, okay, maybe I'm going to go one last time. Here we go. Come on, push. Okay, here we go. Oh! Yes, it's out. It's out.
When I had mine, we were on a week-long vacation down to Hilton Head Island in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And of course, the day that we were the day before we left, we got COVID exposure.
Oh.
So, the boss's great nephew, I still want to punch him in the dick over this one. But 3 days isolation because it was still early in quarantine and everybody was still super scared of all that shit. And then we got 2 good days in, and then piss rocks.
Out your pee hole.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it is the worst pain I've ever felt. And then a couple of years after that, I got another kidney stone. It's just like I really forced myself, like, okay, I gotta stop drinking soda. Because, the first one, I was like, okay, I went 4 months without drinking anything except water, tea, and like cranberry juice, because it's your period. But then it's like, oh, okay, what? As long as I drink enough water to counter the soda, I should be fine. Well, that logic did not last because I ended up getting another one.
Now, my buddy had them so bad. Big Dick Brandon, the one that you've heard me tell stories about periodically. It actually blocked the ureter from one of his kidneys down to his bladder. And they essentially had like this ultrasonic jackhammer that they crammed in there trying to break it loose.
Yeah.
Didn't work. They ended up having to do surgery. And that thing he was running on one kidney for about 4 years before they finally did the surgery.
What?
At VA Medical.
Okay, what damage did that do to his kidney?
From what he said, the kidney still functioned. It's just where it was blocked, it wasn't really able to do anything.
I'm shocked that it didn't like kill the kidney or cause the urethra or whatever to burst. That's shocking to me.
I don't know how it actually worked out, but yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I was The doctor said it was a good decent size. It's like if you can't pass it, you're gonna have to do the ultrasonic, and if that doesn't work, then what the procedure is we got to take a little tiny claw, go right up the dick, right up the pee pee hole, and basically they just pull it out.
Yep.
So I can't imagine an even more excruciating.
Yeah,
At
they
that
had to
point,
put a fucking stent in him, which when everything was said and done.
it's just one of those things of like, put me under. I don't care. There's no amount of drugs that's gonna help me with this. Put me on.
Yeah, he told me, he's like, dude, I'm so tired of bleeding from the dick. It's been 3 weeks.
But yeah, so that's the reason why I don't drink soda anymore, especially Mountain Dew. I mean, occasionally if I go to Wendy's, I'll have like the occasional Dr. Pepper or root beer. But apart from that, I don't drink soda anymore.
I had quit, and then my wife started getting these massive deals on fucking Dollar General app shit,
Mm-hmm.
where abusing the system and just stacking deals on top of one another that shouldn't work. And she's able to get name brand soda for cheaper than like fucking Walmart brand.
Oh, sure.
So it's here, so I drink.
Hey, man. Your wife is one of those, was she an extreme couponer? You know, the people that just had a pile of coupons. It's like, oh, I bought. Basically, it's like I have a $300 order, but then the amount of coupons they use brings it down to like $20.
Or you're paying them.
You're paying them, exactly. I've had to deal with so many of those kinds of people. It's just like, I really want to punch you in the face right now. Thank
Well,
God my store, when I was working there, changed that policy. So now it's just like, nope, you can't do it anymore. Now, of course, they found other ways to abuse the system, but, coupon wise, that ended.
she's never gone that crazy with it. She's taken stints at various times where she's, find one particular combo that gives an awesome deal,
Mm-hmm.
and then, we'll hit that, and then we'll have a big streak. This has been the longest consecutive streak of repeatedly hitting deals, stacking that stuff on the Dollar General app.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we occasionally do, but it's mostly just for like supplies, like Dollar Tree or something like that. But a lot of our shopping we do at Shop and Save, which is a international chain grocery store. So because my wife is Lithuanian, she likes to feel like she's still eating from home. So it's like, okay, there's an aisle dedicated to Lithuania. Actually a very nice store. They have a great bakery.
I'm gonna have to check. We've got two international stores within driving distance. It's like hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on which one you go. Called Super G Mart. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I used to get all the damn weird snacks that I sent to Tadpog a couple of times.
Sure.
I don't know if they have a Lithuanian. I know they have a bunch of different like Asia regional specifics. They've got a
Mm-hmm.
German area and nothing French. What was the? I remember that we remember right now off the top of my head. But you walk in there and where they've got just the massive seafood area where they do all the fresh seafood. It's just like that classic what you think of with a fishmonger back there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you walk in and that hits you the moment you walk in the store.
Oh,
Awesome
you're
produce
talking.
section.
Yeah, actually, the store also has a great produce as well. Great meat. I mean, great deli. Everything about it is very good. But it's funny, you talking Tadpog. I told them, oh yeah, I'm gonna ship you a bottle of Green River because you listened to the Star Fox episode I did with them, right?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
I still refuse to listen to that episode because I know I did absolutely terrible on it. But I said, "Oh yeah, I'll ship you a bottle of Green River." It's been like 4 years now. I still haven't done.
I thought one
And
time, about because this is the reason I sent them durian mochi twice because Tyler was always talking about wanting to try durian.
yeah,
That place actually has like little 1 pound boxes of prepared durian, so you don't have to get the big fucking melon,
uh,
and it comes in frozen.
mm-hmm.
I kept thinking about getting a bunch of dry ice and just shipping that. And then, Mr. Puzzle style, like when they open the box, just a little handwritten note, I'm going to play a game.
What do you recall? What episode this was?
Oh, I haven't done it. I've just been threatening to do it for a while.
Oh, you've been threatening to do it. I thought you had done it.
I did send them durian flavored mochi twice, where the
Mhm.
little rice cakes that's got the stuff in the middle.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah.
are not terrible, provided you don't bite it in half. Eat the whole thing. Because
Okay.
where it's wrapped, you don't get that corpse smell from the durian.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a buffer. You can get it in there and get it partway down. But they didn't care for it.
No, I can't imagine they would. One thing I should probably do just to really piss them off, because it is basically like an, a crime against humanity on the entire world. Send them a bottle of Malort.
Say again now.
I was saying I should send them a bottle of Malort because it's the biggest crime to humanity. That horrible liquor.
I have never tried it, to be perfectly honest.
First time I had it, I was just like, okay, this is interesting. I'm not, I didn't hate it. It's like, okay, let's go for another shot. You know, a little bit later, like 15 minutes later, it's like, let's go for another shot. Oh, this is terrible.
It's not the first time I had Jaeger. Like, what the fuck is this? And now, you can see just chugging this shit.
And I can't stand Jaeger, and I love black liquor.
I've never really thought it tasted that much like licorice.
Well, here's I started drinking when I was 16, and my brother, I was hanging out with him. It's just like, hey, do you like black licorice? Yeah, I love the stuff. Here, take a shot of this. What is it? Just try it. Trust me. Like, all right. So I took the shot, and I immediately spit it up, and then like a minute later, my stomach just turned sour. It's like I had to run to the bathroom. It's like, what the fuck was that? Oh, that was Jägermeister. It's like, well, I'm never trying it again. And actually, about I'll say 10 years later, it was at a coworker's like birthday party, and it's like I got everyone Jaeger bombs. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot because it'll soften the blow. It was still terrible.
Jägerbomb was actually my first underage drink. And the only reason that my buddy talked me into it, he was getting ready to ship off for Iraq, and he's like, Dane, I can count on 0 fingers the number of times we've been drunk together, and that's bad for friendship. I'm like, dude, I'm not really that interested in drinking. He's like, I could die fighting for your freedom. And he stuck a Jaeger bomb in my mouth. Just like, drink it. I didn't think it was that bad.
I don't know. For me, it's definitely better than tequila. Tequila can go straight to hell.
I was never that big on tequila until he got me to try the the one that's not aged. I forget the actual tequila.
Don't ask me.
I used to know. He walked up with a bottle of. He called it 3Gs. I can't pronounce the Spanish. It's like Tres Guevaros or something like that. Really pretty bottle.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But he rolls up with that, and it's the clear kind. He's like, "Here, try this." I'm like, "Dude, isn't tequila normally yellow?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what you get in whiskey country. They want everything aged in whiskey country." I don't know how it is when you walk into the liquor store there, but around here, you got 3 walls around the entire thing. There's various whiskeys. You got the moonshine, the bourbon, and all that. And then two rows of other whiskeys. And then you've got like a little section of vodka, a little section of tequila. It's whiskey country. He said it's the same way down in Texas, but with tequila, because right there at the border.
Yeah.
So since he didn't have all of his whiskey options, he started actually trying tequila and discovered that you get good tequila, it's a totally different beast. But he got me out drinking that. So whenever I drink tequila, I don't go for the aged stuff. I always go for the clear now.
Sure. No, it's. Do you guys have a Benny's down there by you?
I've never seen one.
But you know what it is, right?
I've heard of it.
Well, for those that don't, a Benny's is just like it's a mega liquor store. I mean, most grocery stores will have a pretty sizable liquor department. This entire mega store is just devoted to liquor. So you have like whiskey is like maybe 2 or 3 aisles long, and it'll contain stuff that is like, hey, you like you got your cheap whiskey, or then you got your $500 whiskey.
Man, this sounds like heaven.
There's one like 5 minutes from my house, and of course I don't shop there because, for one, it's terribly expensive, and 2, I have 2 free bottles of Tito's vodka at home that I still need to finish up.
I've never been a big vodka guy.
When I first turned 21, the first thing I started drinking was beer. And after about 2 years, I just could not handle the taste of like beer. It's terrible. I can't stand it. So then I remember in Goodfellas. Robert De Niro's drink of choice in that movie was 7 and 7, 7 Up and blended whiskey. Well, then I ended up drinking that for like 5 years. That was my drink of choice. Then all of a sudden, everything turned into like vodka-based drinks, vodka tonic, vodka Coke, vodka lemonade. Everything. It's just like okay, and that's been my drink of choice ever since.
Mine really changes depending on which way the wind's blowing. Uh,
Mm,
Here lately, I've been doing the Boilermaker since it's Oktoberfest season, and you can get that from the Sam Adams. I'll
mm-hmm.
do that with the Evan Williams 1780 whatever, or and that's the closest thing to a mixed drink I ever do. I need to get me another bottle of scotch. I have not had a bottle of scotch in forever.
I don't. I don't really do scotch. Not straight scotch.
That's the only way I do it. I always get single malt. I know the blending gives you more consistent, so you don't have to worry about the vintage on it. It's really weird to think about vintage with a whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ever get the chance to try it, as far as scotches go, it's really affordable. Glen Rhodes.
I'm trying to think because my dad is a huge scotch drinker, and every birthday for the past 10 years, I always buy him like a nice bottle of scotch, whether it's a 12 year or the most expensive I ever bought him. That was for his 70th birthday. I bought him I believe it was a Blue Label 18-year-old scotch. And of course, he offered me a taste of it, just like, here, you bought me this, take a shot. I'm like, this is terrible. I can't drink it.
Well, are you doing the way you're supposed to taste scotch?
I don't know.
All right. I did a food and wine class when I was doing my culinary stuff, and we actually had a special thing where we did a wine tasting one day, and
Hmm.
it's not that different. Basically, get you just a little bit in your mouth, swish it around so you go ahead and get that alcohol shock out of your system.
Okay.
But with scotch, the way that or at least the way I've always been told and the way that I've always done it, get it and kind of let it coat your tongue, and you breathe over top of it, and then inhale and breathe out your nose, and that kind of gets the flavor of it to go through so you can taste it while you're swallowing it. It's a retrohale thing.
Okay.
When you do it that way and go through all the motions and stuff, you'll actually start picking out little flavors you didn't notice before. Or you convince yourself that because you just spent a lot of money on this liquor.
No, I didn't do anything like that. I'm pretty sure I just did a normal taste and just like a quick sip. And I'm just like, I may have swished it a little, but I'm just like, this is terrible. I don't really do straight liquor unless it's a shot. And even then, the shot has to be a very special occasion. Now, of course, the only real special occasion, because I lack friends these days, is if I'm hanging out with my family and my oldest brother's like, "Hey, I got this nice bottle of vodka or like Crown Royal, whatever." It's just like, let's do a shot. I'm like, all right, why not?
Only time I ever wound up with a bottle of Crown Royal is when I need a new dice bag.
You have no idea how frustrating it is to have two nice. I showed you pictures of them. I have
Yeah.
two nice pairs or nice sets of dice for D&D, and I will never use them because I don't have any friends to hang out and that play D&D.
Well, if I ever manage to convince enough people to do a Savage Worlds game, the only thing you need to change is just an extra d6 and don't bother with your percentile dice.
Well, I can combine the sets if I have to. But yeah,
Because
it's just go ahead.
I haven't actually read a full D&D rule book since Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, because I was all neckbeardy and shit and didn't want to get into, well, let's call a spade a spade. 3rd edition was still expensive whenever I finally bought some books, and 4th edition
Oh,
had just come out, I think. And I wasn't going to spend an arm and a leg for either of those because people hadn't turned loose of, 3.5, and you can only really get 4th edition at the full fucking price. But people are still ditching like these old books from the 80s, just super cheap. So I grabbed
is
those, read through a bunch of them, and then discovered Savage Worlds. And I ended up going with that system instead because it plays so much faster.
and this is still 3.5.
Savage Worlds completely different RPG.
Ah,
You've probably heard me talk about Deadlands at some point, whether you remember it or not, but that is like my favorite RPG setting of all time. It's Wild West with undead and monsters and shit.
sounds like Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, but it's a lot more convoluted. Like they've got an
Uh,
entire alternate history they go into, like an earthquake in 1868 sent most of California out into the Pacific Ocean. The Civil War ended in a stalemate. The Sioux Nation's an independent state. The Mormons managed to do the whole Deseret as an independent state. So there's like 6 different quote unquote countries within the
Yeah.
continental U.S. So that is the kind of area that you're roaming around in. And what nobody realizes is there are these forces trying to make hell on earth. And when the dude wrote the setting, which he's um, the brand manager actually lives like an hour and a half from where I'm at down in Hickory.
Mm-hmm.
The real reason he wrote the setting was as background for this post apocalyptic Mad Max style game that he wanted to make. But he made that one too, but Deadlands was more popular, so that's what most of the materials are made for. They even
I
had
mean,
a trading card game back in the day.
mhm. I mean, it definitely sounds like a fun setting. Like just like if it's like Fallout, but if it took place 200 years before or like 100, no, 200 years before the bombs dropped.
But the core mechanic of that game is super simple.
Yeah.
Your character sheet, your stats are actually dice.
Mm-hmm.
So as you level up your stat, you get to go from a D4 up to a D12. So whenever you have to do any kind of check, you roll the die attached to that stat, and then an extra D6. That's your wild die. Roll them both, take the highest result. And to succeed, you got to hit a 4 or higher. Every increment of 4 you do over that is like a critical, or they call it a raise.
Yeah.
And if you hit the highest number possible on a die, you get to roll it again and add it in until you stop rolling. So if you roll like 6 6s in a row and then a 3, your final roll is 39, and you just destroy whatever. You get some massively swingy games in that.
Mm. Well, I'm sure one of these days we'll get enough people together. But definitely I'm sure Dalton to join us for something like that.
If nothing else, do a bunch of one offs.
Yeah.
So, man, we have inadvertently bullshitted for over half an hour.
Hey, man, liquor brings out the best in everyone.
So, you know what? I'd say we've got an intro in there somewhere, so I'm going to call it. And that means, good evening, denizens of the Webernet. Welcome to Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. This is Mr. L. Dane Puzzles Esquire, Mr. Puzzles for short, Dane for shorter. And with me tonight, you've been listening to him talk, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Grumpy Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, man?
Well, I'd certainly like to know what kind of legend I'm a part of and how shitty of a legend it is.
The legend of Grumpy Jeff.
The big bald Grumpy Jeff. But I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I've been drinking.
I'm shocked that I haven't been drinking because I sent you this in a message. I was at T-Mobile yesterday for 4 hours.
You deserve a drink.
And of course, everyone's asking, like, what the hell were you doing at T-Mobile for 4 hours? Well, ladies and gentlemen, well, actually, let's be realistic. If we do have a lady in our listenership, God bless you.
Yeah, lady
But
and gentlemen.
lady and gents. But so yeah, we currently in the process of transferring all my wife's documents over to her new last name. So like credit cards, insurance, all that stuff. And one of those things was her cell phone bill and her account. And so we went there yesterday. It opened at 11, and by the time we got there, the woman that she talks to, because she speaks Lithuanian, we had to wait for her because she was dealing with another customer. We had to wait for an hour and a half before she finally started taking us, start helping us. And then eventually just so many people started coming in. So by the time we left there, it was damn near 3 o'clock. And it's just like, I am hungry. I am miserable. Let's go to a grocery store, get some of their deli chicken, and just relax. I'm gonna pour myself a drink, and we're just gonna relax for the rest of the day.
And fucking T-Mobile. That's who we got to. Every time I have to deal with them people, it's a freaking fiasco.
I mean, she was very helpful and everything, but it's just like, oh my God, everyone, it's a Sunday. What the hell are you doing here on a Sunday? I don't know, but yeah, it's apart from that, I haven't really been doing. But yeah, so it was an eventful Sunday for. But how about you? How's everything going with you?
So I'm an asshole.
Well, yeah. I saw what you did to my Discord background.
Oh, I mean for that too, but uh, for anyone curious, my notes for Jeff on Discord just say fat bitch.
Well, it's true, but I don't like spreading that so everyone knows.
But yeah, you know what? We're just not going to explain the running joke either.
Nope, we're just
What?
gonna leave it like that.
We'll just let me be the
If
asshole on that.
if Drew listens to this, he'll find it hysterical.
You know, if anything would make him listen to it, it would be the knowledge that he got name dropped and that was what it was for.
Yep. Well,
But the reason I'm talking about that I'm an asshole is the stunt that I pulled on Backlog Golf a couple of days ago. So
hey, it doesn't state in the rules.
so Jeff knows a little bit about this. For anyone who's listening, maybe one day in the future, who has no idea or context for Backlog Golf, our buddy Adam, shout out to Revival and Extinction, started Backlog Golf at the first of this year. The rules are simple. You start off at 0. If you buy a game, it's +1. You beat a game, it's -1. 100% it, you get an extra -1. And there's like bonus things that you can get for beating extraordinarily long games.
Yeah, isn't it like 35 hours or more? That's another -1.
And I think if it's 70 hours or more, you get a -2 instead.
Yeah.
Well, I came out of the gates pretty good and, kept within the, top 1 or 2 back and forth. But Jeremy and Nate have been slowly working their way up, making us all look bad. Because they're like, I think Nate's at -19 now, and I think last I saw Jeremy's either -15 or -16.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been stuck at -10 for months. So, the rules don't make any kind of specifications on what constitutes a game. And I've got this big stack of visual novels that I got from a Humble Bundle several years ago for the Sakura series. Very, very gameplay light. So it's essentially you're sitting there, you're reading a story, and every now and then, like 5 times over the course of the game, maybe 6, it'll ask you to make a decision between, one of 2 choices up to like maybe 1 of 5 choices. And the handy thing about all this text is you can click some settings in the options and fast forward through all of it.
Ah.
So I pulled up a guide that says do these choices, make a save here, these choices, load that save, these choices, make a save there, these choices, load the second save, make these choices. So I just speed run 8 different games, got all the achievements and all the endings, saw all the dialogue. So I got 100% on 8 different games and tacked on a -16 to my score and took myself straight to the lead. And it took me about an hour and a half of gameplay because I'm an ass.
Man, you played the game as the rules are presented. And also we should also state with the rules, if you purchase a game that I guess are part of a bundle, you only pay do you pay for the whole thing or just for the one?
The bundle rules that he laid out, because that came up pretty quick. If it's, I think, 5 games or less, you still only get a +1. If it's more than 5 for the bundle, you get a +2.
Okay. So every
that's how
5 it's an additional plus.
I don't know if he actually went to the trouble of establishing like a +3 or anything for that.
Well, I don't think anyone anticipated of getting 16 games.
Well,
Or did you only get 8 games, but 16 points?
oh no, this is something I bought years ago that's been sitting in my Steam library, dormant. I don't even know why the fuck I bought it, because I had no interest in it. It's just that, gamer compulsion of grabbing a whole set of stuff.
You were donating to I'm sure there was like a Haiti charity or something going on from a hurricane.
Based on the number of anime titties, I'm imagining breast cancer.
Yeah. Another rule is if a game you buy was gifted, or if it's free, like, hey, PSN is saying this game is free for the month, or if it's included, it's 0 points added. So that's actually how I ended up at -5, because it's like, oh wow, the Legendary Edition was free. And that is 3 games right there that I beat in a month. But of course, after that, it's like, okay, well, since I know the rules, let's see what other games I can do. So I ended up getting Doom Eternal, Elite Dangerous, And of course, based on our, if you haven't listened to the episode yet with the Steam Machine podcast, the ever infamous Alien Isolation. And
Everybody's favorite game.
if you want to find out our true feelings, listen to the Steam Machine podcast.
Well, we had a bunch of fun recording the show.
That was a fun episode. It's always fun recording with those guys. They always just bring out the extra jokes.
Oh, yeah. And Willie is the king of the, rapid-fire dad joke.
And he annoys Mikolov so much.
Somebody's got to do it.
I'm not quick-witted enough to come up with dad jokes.
I'm really good with the standard ones that infuriate my daughter. She'll be like, Dad, I'm hungry. How hungry? I'm Dad. Stop doing that!
Well, yeah, I've done that one as well. Even now, you have no idea. It's just like, Dad, I'm almost 37 years old. I think you could stop now.
Never stop. You never stop.
It never stops. But, so yeah, this was my pick this episode. And because it is the lovely month of Spooktober, I want us to go down, I want us to talk about a wonderful classic, Tremors.
Yeah.
And how do we want to start?
Well, before we do that, I do want to get one last little bit out there for the segment of Haha, Dalton Found an Error.
Absolutely. Yes, go. I enjoy these.
I didn't get any messages from Dalton. So the only thing that we had reported was actually reported in the episode from Willie that apparently I kept calling Ridley Scott Ripley Scott, but since I didn't listen to our own show, it didn't happen, so I'm going to call it no errors.
I wasn't listening to you the whole time, so I think you're innocent in this.
That's fair. I wouldn't listen to me either if I had the option.
I'm still shocked that people listening to this crap.
Somebody's listening.
Well, a few are kind of forced to out of the fact that we're under their umbrella.
I think Dalton was more excited to hear this show whenever it actually landed than we were to actually get it started.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, we were talking about doing this for a year, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, here it is.
Well, I guess we'll start off the actual episode talk. We'll go ahead and get our internet article blurb out there. So, lifted straight from IMDb, Tremors. A small town gradually becomes aware of a strange creature which picks off people one by one. But what is this creature? And where is it? At the same time, a seismologist is working in the area. She detects Tremors. Title drop. The creature lives underground and can pop up without warning. Trapped in their town, the townfolk have no escape. And this actually has an author attribution that was written by Rob Hartle.
So immediately I have to call bullshit on that. Because they said these things will pop up without warning. The people in this small town are constantly aware of like, oh, it's very close. We know where it is. That's why it's like, shut up, don't make any noise. So whoever you are, Mr. Article Writer, I call bullshit.
Well, I mean, a few people were caught off guard, but that was early on whenever it was getting everything set up. But I think the best place to start, let's go ahead and get our history out with the movie. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, so we'll start off with you because I'm sure that you're going to have way more to talk about on that regard. So what's your history on Tremors? You picked it.
Nope, first time watching it.
Alrighty then, moving on.
No, this is one of those movies I watched as a kid, and it's funny because when you're younger, it's like, I don't remember a lot of these scenes, a lot of these bad words, because obviously 90s television was heavily censored, and now in recent years, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, they're kind of being a little more lenient with the censorship, but then you realize that some of the words that they're saying is actually scripted. It's not TV edited.
That was actually a fun bit of trivia that I found, that they started off with an R rating for no other reason than the language, and they actually went through and dubbed over all of the F-bombs, but I think 2 made the final cut.
I think I read that as well, and I'm just like, you know what, fine, whatever works. Maybe this is just the language of wherever this Perfection is the name of the town that they're in. But yeah, no, it's just one of those movies that I watched a lot as a kid, and it's just one of those treasure. Is it good? No. Is it great? Oh yes, absolutely.
Well, this
Because this is an interesting movie because this is classified as a horror, and I only think that maybe the first 15 minutes of this movie is as close to horror as it can get before all of a sudden it's just like, hey, this is a comedy.
I really don't think that they were taking the movie too serious when they were making it, but
No,
it's a fun ride, man.
this movie is fantastic. But tell me your first impressions. You start the movie. I mean, tell us. You got yourself a drink, maybe a big bowl of popcorn, or
Nowhere near that interesting. So, my wife was supposed to watch this with me, but just, hectic schedule. I ended up watching it on my own, middle of the night while wife and kid were asleep. And stone cold sober, no popcorn, nothing like that. Flipped out my laptop and I was like, okay, let's take some notes while I'm watching this. I'd never seen it before. I thought that maybe I'd seen scenes or something, and I'm not entirely convinced I've ever seen a single scene out of this movie except like that one scene where the thing's coming through and it goes under the baseboards on that walkway and you see them ripple up.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that's too iconic for me not to know that this is where that came from. That looks so familiar. So I don't know if I saw it in like a clip somewhere or if it's been spoofed a bunch. But that just really felt like one of those shots that, okay, this is definitely like an iconic shot in this movie. But my first impressions of it, having never watched any of these before, was wow, they do not fuck around. This movie got moving quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm used to, most movie nowadays, they spend like a good 30 minutes doing world building and lore dumps and all this other bullshit, introducing you to 30 different people that are all going to be playing no significant role. And this just jumps straight into getting the relationship with Val and Earl established immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Val being Kevin Bacon's character and Earl being
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward, yeah.
To interject quickly,
Go
the
for it.
reason it moves along so quickly because this is a cool 96 minutes.
That runtime, whenever I saw that, I'm like, that could be a good sign, it could be a bad sign. But being an older movie, that's back in the days when hour and a half was what you were usually shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Avengers fucked it up, and now everyone thinks that the blockbusters have to be 3 hours long.
Right, and of course there's a post credit scene. But anyway, continue. Your
And the
first
mid-credit
impressions.
scene,
And the
and the
mid-credit
pre-credit
scene.
scene. Oh, man. Anyway,
That's a
so,
different topic for another day.
but that initial impression was, wow, this movie gets started super, super quick. And, like, I was just sold really quick. Usually it takes me a little bit whenever it's something that I'm completely unfamiliar with. And honestly, the only thing I knew going in was it's a cheesy horror movie where the monster is some kind of underground worm. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that there were multiple of these things going in. But they get started really quick. And the first time that I saw the snake tentacle puppet,
Mm-hmm.
I just closed the laptop. I'm like, I don't need to take notes for this. I'm into the movie.
No, it's what I love is everything is practical. I mean, there is one moment where the green screen is absolutely terrible, and we'll get
Yeah.
to that scene later on. But immediately off the bat, when you see the puppets, all sounds like, oh wow, they put some effort into this.
Yeah, I was surprised by how hard they went into, the larger, and we'll go ahead and say the name of the species now, graboids. Isn't that what they
Yes.
settled on? They put some effort into making the graboid itself. I was really surprised when that showed up
Mm-hmm.
because the first thing you see is these little, snake puppets look like somebody might have stuck their arm into this long mutant looking snake thing and that they were just working it and grabbing people. And I thought
It's
that was
like
all the worms were going to be. I wasn't expecting that to just be a mass of tentacles popping out of a much larger monster.
yeah. When you first see the tentacle, it looked like it's like the size equivalent of a anaconda. But it has some mutation to it, so it's like, okay, so this is what this movie is going to be about. It's just these maybe a bunch of mutant anacondas. But then it's only like maybe 10, 15 minutes later. It's very quick when all of a sudden you see the real graboid itself. And what was your first reaction when you saw the design?
My first thought was, oh shit, there's a big one too. And then you see the massive tentacles coming out of the thing's mouth. Like, oh, I was not expecting this. And just, it really had a cool, wicked, while still cheesy design to it. But
Hmm.
the larger graboid itself, you can tell they put a lot of love and effort into it. Even if the individual snaky tentacle things were maybe a little bit on the campier side.
Well, sure. I mean, this is definitely probably paying an homage to those like 50s, maybe even an 80s horror monster movie,
Oh,
where
clearly.
it's just like we know what this is. We know what this movie is about. We're not here to scare you or anything. Our number one focus is entertainment.
And I actually liked how it really played off a lot of those old sci-fi horror tropes,
Mm-hmm.
because every one of those always has a scientist there who's some sort of expert that has answers to all the questions and can perfectly speculate everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the character's name was Rhonda, the
Yes.
yeah, the college
And
girl doing
she's
this.
as yeah, she's just a college student.
Yeah, studying seismology, and she's got seismographs all over the valley, and they've been picking up these weird tremors, thus the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep looking to her like, what do you think's going on? And at one point, they actually call it out. She actually looks at him like, why do you keep asking me these questions?
I know. I was about to say the same thing. It's just like, for one thing, it's like our science expert is a college student, and instead of the tropey science expert, it's just like, I'm going to give you all the answers. This is everything that I know. I'm going to share with you. This movie. Why do you keep asking me? And it's also funny because going back to the first encounter when we see the graboid, we're thinking, okay, they're running away, and the thing rams itself into like a concrete wall. It's like, oh, the thing is dead. Movie over. But then the Rhonda looks at her charts. It's like there's actually three more of these things. So now you're like, oh, okay, you just upped the game in one sentence.
And another thing that really entertained me, when you look at this kind of monster, you automatically assume you're going to get some sort of explanation. I don't think in this, at least in this movie, I don't know if they changed that later in the series. They never actually answer
I think
where did it come from.
I think they explained it in the second movie. And you want me to tell you, or do you just want to watch it? Because the second movie, it is fun. It's nowhere near as fun as this movie, but it is still fun because it still has Fred Ward. It's got Earl. It's got Bert. The conspiracy theorist, gun expert or
But
gun
is
hoarder.
Reba
Let's
in
be
there?
honest. No, there's no Reba.
Man, strike against it.
I
Um,
I don't recall the reason why she's not in it. I think she had another job or something, and she just couldn't get the
uh,
schedules clashed.
some
It's
singing
also the
thing, I
same
don't know.
reason. It's also the same reason why Kevin Bacon's not in it either.
Well, consider how much I know that he despised being in the first one. I would have been really surprised if he came back for a second one, because I don't think he actually came around to embracing being in that movie until like 10 years ago or something like that.
It was very recent when all of a sudden it's just like, oh, this is a cult following that people love this movie. I do believe it. I think I heard a story. It was like the night of the premiere of this movie. I believe he was like crying at his wife's feet. Just like, "Hun, I can't believe I was in this movie. I can't believe I was in this movie." And this movie is beloved.
I know it's one of those movies that can't exist in today's market because it kind of tanked box office, but like tripled its budget once it came out on VHS.
Yes.
And that used to be like there was a massive market of films that weren't expected to do great in the box office because they were expecting to make their money back in home sales.
Yeah.
VHS, later DVD. Kevin Smith's stuff was like that. That's the reason they kept giving him money to make more movies. He didn't
Hmm.
do good at the theaters, but he always raked in bukus of cash from DVD sales.
DVD rental from Blockbuster. All that stuff.
The shit that Matt Damon really likes to make. Those types
Hmm.
of movies, the adult dramas,
Yes.
they don't do that great in theaters because it's not something that draws in every age range, but they would do good after the fact because movie rentals, movie purchases, people would buy them. streaming's killed that.
Also, at that time, it was just like if something is not working, a lot of these kinds of movies relied heavily on word of mouth. So it's one of those things of like, oh, it's like I wonder what movie I want to see. You talk to a friend, you need to see Tremors. It's not in theaters right now. Go rent it. You're gonna have a ball. And that's usually how it was for a lot of those stuff. It was just word of mouth.
Yeah, now it's just everything's so fractured, but we could sit here and mourn the current state of the entertainment industry all night.
That's another episode. But
But
but yeah, no. Answer. Did you want to know the answer how they came to be, or do you want to watch the second one?
I'm going to pass because this movie sold me so much. I'm going to watch the rest of the series probably within the next coming weeks.
All right. I've only seen 2 and 3. I've never seen 4. I've never seen 5. I've never seen A Cold Day in Hell. I've never seen a TV show. So
There was a TV show.
yep, Tremors the
Holy
series,
shit.
and it still stars Bert, Michael Gross.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I think he is the only through line throughout this entire series.
Huh.
I think that's just because he was the popular character. Oh wow, the crazy gun nut.
Yeah, imagine. America.
America.
Now, can we go ahead and jump up to the second graboid and they kill? Speaking of, him and his crazy gun nut stuff. I
The
know
best
that
scene
we'll
in the
probably.
movie.
Yeah. I really did not see that playing out the way that it played out. That actually didn't get a big surprise out of me because I figured that they were going to be standing there like waiting for this thing like, oh yeah, we're going to be able to shoot and it was going to bust to the wall and that was going to be the end of Bert and Reba's character.
Hold on.
Heather?
Heather, yeah.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, these two are like crazy preppers.
Conspiracy theorists.
They've got their fortress up in the mountains in this isolated town, stockpiling weapons and ammo.
Mm-hmm.
And at the point where the graboids are really attacking the town, they're, cleaning up some stuff and getting things stored away, and that draws the attention of one of the graboids who makes its way towards their compound. And everybody's on the radio telling them, get out, get up on the roof, because that's where you're going to be safe. And they both grab their guns and they're waiting.
They're thinking, oh, it's running at them. It's like, we can't see it. What are you talking about? And Val is constantly telling him it's under the ground. Like, how many times do I have to say that? They're under the ground. And all of a sudden, it breaks through the wall. And then you just hear Bert over the radio. It's like, Jesus Christ! And that's it. And they're thinking, well, okay, that's the end of Bert and Heather. And then all of a sudden, you start hearing their gunfire in the distance. And they're just like, they're fighting back. And then for the next minute and a half, it's them shooting their rifles, their automatics, their pistols, shotguns, just unleashing everything at this one graboid. And of course, this is the moment where it has that terrible green screen.
Yeah. The green screen was unfortunate, but
it's only a few seconds.
But watching Reba McEntire dual-wielding pistols like she's in a fucking first-person shooter.
It's a turn on. It could be anyone's first awakening.
Unloading Uzis, just give me a magazine, throwing it over, and then Bert finally whips out the elephant gun.
Yeah.
And puts the thing down. And whenever they successfully killed the thing, I'm like, that was gratuitous, that was over the top, that was unrealistic. And I've never been more happy in my life.
Fun fact, in the second movie, Bert has that graboid mounted on the wall.
As he should.
Yeah, he chops its head off and mounts it on the wall. And it's just like, that's what he would have done.
Oh, man. But I did think that it was kind of interesting the way they escalate how they deal with the successive graboids. Because the way that they go out, you have the first one running headfirst into a wall and killing itself. You have the second one going down that blaze of glory. And then as they're making their break for the mountains where everything's rock and the graboids won't be able to pursue them, and the crazy preppers have made pipe bombs.
Yep.
And then they go fishing and they blow the next sucker up. I knew the moment that Kevin Bacon grabs one of those and he's like, I want to get the last one. I want to get this sucker. And he's going to try and get him to grab the thing. But this isn't going to work. I knew it wasn't going to work. So especially since this is the one that has been hounding him personally since the beginning of the movie. Because at one
Yes,
point,
the last one that survives at this moment is actually the one that grabbed their truck earlier, and they ripped off its tentacle.
yeah, Stumpy.
That Stumpy, old Stumpy.
So this is
It's
kind of the
also
arch nemesis moment.
it's also throughout the entire movie they say these things are getting smarter. Every time something happens, they gain the intelligence. So it's just like, okay, these things are getting smarter. Let's see how they're going to outdo them. So Val at the end, him, Earl, and Rhonda are running towards a cliff. Val is still holding the bomb, and it's just like, not yet, not yet. And then he lights the bomb and he throws it. It goes behind the graboid, and now they're thinking, shit, you threw it too far. The bomb explodes. And something that was established, I think, only 5-10 minutes earlier, the force of the explosion causes, I guess, a lot of seismic pain to these graboids, and they flee, at great, tremendous speed. And they flee for like maybe a quarter mile before they realize, okay, I think it's safe for us to return. So that's exactly what happens. This thing just starts charging towards the cliff face, and then they watch it just fall 100 feet, and Val, of course, is saying, "Can you fly, you sucker? Can you fly?" And the thing, it kills itself, and it's just like, well, it finally just hit me. Stampede.
Which is a callback to the very beginning of the movie.
Yes. And then at the end of the movie, Val and Rhonda declare love. They start a romance with each other. It's like, okay, that is the end of this. Was supposed to be a horror comedy, and this is just like, I actually do believe the last movie they pick for the closing credits is a song sung by Reba herself.
It was.
Yeah.
And last night I could have told you what the name of the song was because I actually looked it up, but I've forgotten which one it is.
Well, go ahead and vamp for a second. I'll see if I can find it because I am on Wiki right now. And it's not telling me shit. So, okay, scratch that. Can't help you.
It's out there. You people have the internet.
Just type it. Just go to YouTube. Tremors closing credits song, Reba McEntire. There you go.
Which I did find it interesting. This was her first acting role.
I think I saw that too. And it's just like, wow, what a way to start your career. And then you got other people like Rhonda herself. She I think only did 3 more movies, and then that was she hasn't done anything since.
You know the biggest surprise to me? The little girl.
Yes. The little girl, the little blonde girl that is constantly on her pogo stick throughout the entire thing, listening to her Walkman, turns out to be Ariana Richards, who ends up starring in what movie, Dane?
Jurassic Park, which I just let my 7-year-old watch for the first time about 2 weeks ago.
You let her watch it at 7? My parents allowed me to watch it when I was 5.
Same. But my wife was very insistent on not letting her watch the first one. She's watched the Jurassic World movies, but she's never watched any of the original Jurassic Park. And I did concede to, let it, because she's the weirdest things scare her. Like, she's
All right.
usually a pretty resilient kid with some stuff, but every now and then just something will get under her skin, and then she won't sleep for like 3 weeks, and we're still trying to keep her out of our bed every night because in the middle of the night she always gets up, walks to the other end of the house, crawls in bed, and piles on top of us.
I mean, I'm not going to call that weird. I was basically the same as a kid. I mean, horror movies, I'm just like, it is what it is. But then something like the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark get at the end when their faces are melting. It's like, okay, that stuck with me. We'll stick with Jurassic Park, only with the second movie, The Lost World. The one guy gets ripped in half by the 2 T-Rex. That stuck with me. So, but it's just like ghost movies or like slasher movies. I'm just like, nothing.
Yeah, horror movies didn't bother me when I was a kid. You know what my nightmare fuel was?
Judge Doom. Roger Rabbit.
Not quite. The Gamork from the Never-Ending Story. Do you remember the Gamork? Did you ever watch that movie?
I've never seen the Never-Ending Story, and a lot of people are going to give me crap.
Oh, I'm sure that will come up on the show eventually.
Somewhat.
Throughout the movie, the main character Atreyu is pursued by this force of the nothing called the Gamork, which is like this
Mm.
weird kind of wolf bear hybrid looking thing,
All
but
right.
it can talk. The Gamork scared the ever loving shit out of me every time he was on screen, to the point that I had a recurring nightmare that he was hiding in the bathtub in the bathroom behind the curtain that scarred me so bad that even when I was still a teenager, the way the bathroom was set up, you had the bathtub on one side, and since I'm a dude, I stand up when I pee like a boss,
Sure.
but your back would be turned to the bathtub while you were pissing.
Okay.
And once that dream started, I always scooted between the wall and the toilet so that I was at a 90 degree and could see and had a direct line of sight to that fucking toilet, or not the toilet, but to the bathtub,
The bathtub.
because I would not turn my back on it. I wouldn't do it. And if I walked in there and the curtain was pulled shut, nope, I'll go use the other bathroom. 16 years old, walk in there, nope,
I never
walk to
had
the other end of
anything
the house.
like that. It's never anything that bad, but it's just always those weird scenes which just pop into my head, and I might have a weird dream about it that night. But apart from did I have any fears? No. My older brother had the fears. Like one time he watched a Dead Silence, the puppet movie, the
Mm-hmm.
puppet horror movie. Well, apparently he would not sleep with the lights off for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Or even the remake of House of Wax, the Paris Hilton movie. If you remember that, there is a
Didn't watch
scene.
that.
It's pretty bad, but there is a scene where the killer cuts a guy's Achilles tendon with some cutters through a storm drain,
Ooh.
and so for like the next week or so, he would not make he would make sure that his feet did not dangle over his bed, his mattress. He basically forced himself to sleep in a ball. It's like, Steve, the hell's wrong with you?
I think the first actual horror movie that really got under my skin, because I've mentioned this, my parents, my dad gave me way too much access to HBO when I was little,
Of
and I
course.
saw all of the things that I was not old enough to see, so I got way desensitized very early on. But when the Blair Witch Project came out, you remember the
Hmm.
marketing around that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know that, like, today, someone looking back is going to be like, why the fuck did anyone think this movie was real? But I went into it, and the way it was set up, I bought into it.
Hmm.
And, my mom was like, Dane's been watching this weird shit since he was 5. He's going to be fine. I'll take him with me because I want to go see the movie. So my mom took me with her, and we went and we watched the Blair Witch Project. My brother was pissed because he's 3 years younger than me. She wouldn't let him come. She's like, no, no, no. This movie will give you nightmares. You're too young. So she took me, and we went and we watched the movie. And I don't think I blinked during the last half hour of it. And we come home, and at this point, most of the time I was sleeping in the living room anyway.
Hmm.
And I want to say, I can't remember what time of year the Blair Witch Project was actually in theaters. I want to say we had already put up Christmas decorations for some reason. But I distinctly remember laying on the couch in the living room. And the reason for that was mine and my brother's bedroom for a long time was essentially a room full of toys. So most of the time you couldn't sleep on a bed because we were spoiled little brats.
Yeah.
But I'm sleeping in there, staring at the fucking tree off to one side, going, it's just like the woods. Thinking about the creepy fucking little stick figure dude that hung in the trees and all that. That movie got under my skin, dude.
I just
It
looked it
scared
up.
the ever loving shit out of me.
I just looked it up. This was a summer release, a July release.
All right. It might have still been fucking with me by the time that we put up the stuff. So that could be me mixing two different things. It could have been whenever it came out on VHS and we'd rented it and I'd fuck me up again.
But yeah, no, I remember the marketing for this movie, and I never bought into it because I still have never seen it. There's a lot of these movies that it's just like, I just don't care. The only time a one of these kinds of movies that had this sort of marketing was Cloverfield.
Cloverfield was a fun one, which obviously I never bought into that one. But
I mean, I never saw it in theaters. I wait for it before it came out on Actually, I didn't see it until I think it came out on started streaming on probably TBS or something.
I actually liked the sequel better, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Is
ever
that the
watch
one?
that one?
Is that the one with John Goodman?
Yeah. They didn't do the found footage style with that one.
Mm-hmm.
The whole premise of that one being that girl wakes up trapped in this prepper's bunker, which is a fun kind of through line for this episode, considering, you know, Reba and Bert in Tremors.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, 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 you don't understand. Aliens have invaded and they've released this poisonous gas that's killed everybody. I saved your life. So it goes from this crazy person's trapped me to, no, he's actually a good guy and he saved me, to, okay, he might be a good guy and saved me, but I think he's crazy, to, no, he's really just crazy. I've been tricked this whole time. I really had a blast with that movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it's anything with John Goodman, you know it's going to be fun and entertaining.
True. That man is a national treasure.
I mean, obviously, everyone knows his best work is The Big Lebowski. You want a toe, dude? I can get you a toe. Hell, I can get you 1:30 half hour with dark green toenail paint.
Pretty much everything he ever did with the Coens, because he was also in Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yes.
Never forget him just knocking that one dude for a loop with the log, and then it cuts to George Clooney like, what are you doing, Dan?
I've only seen that movie once, and the only thing I remember that just stuck with me was God damn it, fuck me, I'm gonna have to look it up now. I don't. What's the name of the song that the Soggy Bottom Boys song? Man of Constant Sorrow. Thank you. Yeah, that's the only thing that stuck with me.
My parents actually bought the soundtrack to that movie.
Oh, it's a great soundtrack. I mean, it's done by the same guy who basically does every Coen movie, Carter Burwell.
That wasn't even my genre of music, but yeah, they did an awesome job on that sound. Every one of them is just so very appropriate for what they're doing. Even if every time you see George Clooney, you could tell on set he was singing his heart out, but there's no way in hell anyone believed that he was the one singing that song.
No, not a chance. But Tremors. That was a nice long tangent.
Little. Hey, we do what we do.
What are some things that stuck out with you? It's like, they could have done better with that. We already discussed the green screen, and you said that the puppets were a little bit on the campy side.
Yeah, they were on the campy side, but I don't really think of that as a negative.
No, it's just paying homage to. Like, I literally just watched a old Roger Corman movie. It's called Wasp Woman, and it's just like, wow, this is terrible. Why can't I turn this off?
The whole time I was watching this movie, all that kept running through my head, just with everything and every choice that they made, I kept thinking you could never make a movie like this and actually get a studio to fund it nowadays.
No, because it would be like, what's the message for this movie? It's like, there's nothing. This movie was built just for fun. I mean, I read this before we started recording. One of the writers, guy named Wilson, was serving as an editor for the United States Navy, and literally his thinking was, what would happen if I was forced to hide on a boulder and I had to pole vault to escape? Well, guess what? That is a scene in this movie. In order for them to escape, they pole vault from boulder to boulder to get into Rhonda's truck.
And a fun fact that I found out about that scene was they had this great idea and they went out there to shoot it, but the lay of the land, the natural boulders were too far apart to be able to actually do that. So they had to make these gigantic hollow plaster boulders.
Yeah.
Which worked great, except they had one windy day that blew them and knocked them all the way across the field, and they had to go out there and move them back.
But yeah, that was the idea, or the start of this movie. It's like, what would happen if you had to escape from boulder to boulder by pole vaulting? And then he just got his two buddies. You know, one of the other buddies was the director for this movie. He's like, let's just have some fun.
I do know that Kevin Bacon, once he finally come around and started talking positive about it, he did say that the set of Tremors was the most fun that he's ever had with any movie he's ever made. And that he has spent the rest of his career trying to recapture that same just fun atmosphere that they had. And never was able to capture it again on another set.
Yeah, this is just something special. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. But what did you were you able to think of any other things that you might have thought, maybe the intro is a little too slow, but even still, it moves along at a good. It's like its pacing, it's perfect. If that makes sense, it's just like the pacing is good, but I don't know. It's just like the establishing of like what's the mystery of what's going on. Maybe it lasts just a touch too long.
I actually felt the opposite, believe it or not. It really felt like to me that they moved really quick into the actually shit's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, if you had a horror movie that had this kind of premise to it, I really think that they would have waited longer until they actually made the reveal of the graboids are a thing.
Oh, I think we would have just seen the tentacles. If this would have been like a 2 hour long movie, they would have shown the tentacles not until like an hour into the movie, and we wouldn't actually see the full graboid until probably the last 15 minutes.
And there
And
would have
all
been perfect lighting, and it would have been all CG, and it would have been the most expensive shot of the film.
yes. And fun fact, these things in the third movie, they're nothing but CG. They look terrible. They absolutely
No.
look terrible.
No, why did you ruin
But
it?
but
Uh,
that one it was a straight to TV. It was a sci-fi movie. It did not come out in theaters. It was just a straight to sci-fi.
okay, but I still want to give the whole series a shot. I'm going to watch them all.
I mean, don't get they are entertaining. The three movies I've seen are fun. Just it's the first movie is the most fun.
I don't expect that it's going to do like, the Alien franchise or the Terminator franchise did, and just first one's good, second one's amazing, and then taper off. I figure it's probably one of those that, like most horror franchises that go on for several films, the first one's going to be the best, and then you're going to have a steady decline. That's what I am expecting, but I do still. This one is good enough that I want to see the rest of them and hope for more cheesy goodness.
This movie, what they've established throughout this whole everything that I've seen is this is crap, but it's fun crap. And so I think they continue that throughout the entire series. It's like, yeah, it's crap. We know it's crap. But are you having fun? You are? Then shut up and enjoy the crap.
I don't get many movies where as soon as I start it, I instantly go, you know what, I'm turning my brain off for this one. Because I had to stop and think a lot after I finished the movie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I can, we've talked about this before. I don't watch movies with my brain turned off normally.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay ahead of the plot, or I'm trying to, like, okay, what were they doing? What were they thinking? I overanalyze shit and I suck all the
Mm-hmm.
fun out of a movie. This is the first time that I've just straight up shut my brain off and enjoyed the ride in a long
Mm-hmm.
time.
I'm usually the opposite. First time I watch something, I shut my brain off. It's like but it depends on how long. There's always that one moment. It's just like, okay, I'm in. But then the more I start seeing something, then I started looking at everything more analytical. Like trying to pick something out. It's like, okay, so you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. You wait for the second watch to start analyzing stuff and be like, let's appreciate
Correct.
this.
Correct. Yes. But the reason I've seen this movie probably 20, 30 times, that's why it's just one of those things of like, okay, maybe the beginning, as short as it is, also might just take place a little too long. I don't know. I know it sounds very idiotic when I say it like that because literally the plot of the movies takes 15 minutes and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, this is a monster movie. I'm in.
And I do know that one of the things that I read about the movie as far as production goes, the studio pushed them to have the graboid show up earlier in the film
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to have a little bit more mystery before the big reveal of we have a mutant worm under the ground that's eating people.
Yeah.
And I do think that it was one of those few cases where a studio meddling made a right call.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting it out there and having at least a better inkling of what's going on early on in the movie does do this movie some good.
Yeah.
I think if you tried to drag this out too long and tried to make it a big mystery of what's going on, why are people disappearing, and this, that, and the other, would have taken away from that kind of campy silliness.
Hmm.
And I think that them leaning into it and just having fun with it, which, I'll draw a comparison to Evil Dead.
Oh, okay.
I've always heard people say that the best camp is when the filmmakers don't know they're doing camp.
I can believe that.
And if you watch Evil Dead 1, it is a very self-serious movie that is ridiculous.
Yes.
And then you watch Evil Dead 2, it is a very ridiculous movie that knows it's ridiculous and it's leaning in. Tremors
I
kind of felt like
say
the middle ground.
I say Tremors treats itself as well as Army of Darkness treats itself. It's completely self-aware. To me, I think Evil Dead 2 still, even though it's having fun and it's very campy, I think it still has a sense of seriousness to it. Whereas Army of Darkness is just like, we know what this movie is going to be about. This movie is just going to be straight up. And I think Tremors is aware enough to know that this is just straight up camp.
I don't think it didn't feel to me like they were just straight up. It's fucking dumb. It felt more like a love letter to those old sci-fi horror movies, but they didn't take it too serious.
Maybe camp is the wrong word, but definitely their mission was to give you a fun.
Yeah,
And
absolutely on that.
and Army of Darkness is definitely the most fun of that trilogy.
Yeah, and it was actually the one that introduced me to the franchise.
Me too.
And then, we actually somehow convinced our theater arts teacher in high school to let us watch Evil Dead 2. So that was the next one I got to see.
Same.
And then I finally got to watch Evil Dead 1 right after me and my wife got married. And we watched it with my mom and my brother-in-law, who's an ass, didn't bother to warn me about the tree scene. And if you know, you know.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Infamous. It kind of along the lines of what we were talking about with the Alien movie and its theme. There are some connections.
Yeah, but damn.
Yeah.
Paul, if you're listening to this, I still want to add this again. Fuck you. You should have warned me. Oh, man.
But yeah, I can't really think of anything. I mean, obviously Melvin is a piece of shit, and that's intended.
Man, I almost forgot. Here are all my notes on Melvin.
Oh,
fuck
okay.
Melvin. I spent every moment of that kid's screen time like, fuck you. I can't wait till you die. I can't wait. If you survive this movie, it's going to be the greatest atrocity in film history. Oh, every time I thought that he was going to bite it, they let the motherfucker live. I'm like, man. I was so disappointed he survived the movie. So the one flaw I will point out with the movie is that Melvin survived.
I'm trying to figure out like who is this kid's parents? Because he lives in a little corrugated metal roof shack that's only like maybe 6 by 6. It's a tiny little thing.
I don't remember the dude's name. I remember him wearing a yellow shirt, and he was one that went out after they started hitting the town. I assumed that was his dad.
But they're not. I'm looking at the cast. They have different names.
Huh.
So I have no idea who this kid is. But yeah, fuck Melvin. And what kind of name is Melvin?
Yeah, fuck anyone named Melvin. If your name is Melvin, you're listening to this show, not you, but everyone else named Melvin. You're cool. You're the exception.
If your name is Melvin and you're listening to this show, thank you.
Okay, according to Google, in a deleted scene, the character briefly mentioned that Melvin's parents are out gambling in Las Vegas. So, I guess he's just a latchkey kid.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, there's really nothing. This movie moves along. It's fun. It's got some great funny moments. I mean, it's just. Let me ask you this. This the second movie I dumped you to watch for the first time. Which did you find more entertaining?
That's a hard call, man. I think I was more surprised by the fact that I enjoyed Speed Racer.
Mm-hmm. Especially that you hate the act.
Yeah. The only thing that really got me going with that was, okay, the Wachowskis did it. Maybe it has something going for it. That was going in. But you know how I said it was about an hour into Speed Racer whenever my final eyes stopped bleeding and the world seemed okay. This is just the world, and I'm okay with all the wild visuals.
Yes.
I was sold 5 minutes into Tremors.
Hmm.
So going in, I think I was more open on Tremors.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up like just as far as me watching a movie because I want to watch the movie. I think I'll probably end up watching Tremors more on my own
Hmm.
than I would Speed Racer. But I do think they'll end up seeing Speed Racer more often than Tremors just because it's more kid friendly.
Sure. What was I was gonna say something. Shit, completely lost it. I mean, oh, I remember. If you're not sold on the friendship of Val and Earl, because that's what you get immediately, and if you're not sold on their friendship, then this movie is just it is what it is. But if you're sold on it, it's just like okay, I'm ready. What more do you have for me? So literally, it's like the first 5 minutes. If you're not sold, this movie might be more of a struggle for you.
I bought into it really quick because I've had that kind of off kilter friendships with older guys that I worked with before,
Mm-hmm.
where, buddies, and then the younger one usually being me, giving the older one shit because you're old, but at the same time, they kind of know what the fuck's going on, so they drag you along for the ride and set you straight. And then there's always these comedy errors because sometimes neither one of you know what the fuck you're doing.
Well, it's funny because one funny moment is Val and Earl are arguing who gets to drive the bulldozer, try to save them, and always solve their problems. It's just a matter of rock scissors paper, and they're just going like, "The hell with you, Earl! I'm faster than you." It's like, "Damn it, Val! I am older and wiser than you are." It's just like, "Well, you're half right."
Yeah, that was a good quip. And I knew from the moment the fact that they established the rock, paper, scissors thing so early, this is going to come up later in the movie. So I started paying attention. First two games, it was rock from Earl, scissors from Val.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, so Val always throws scissors. So Earl's got him figured out. And then later, the one time that Val wins, he throws paper against rock. I'm like, oh, Earl always throws rock. I went through him. I actually tallied the shit every single time he threw rock.
I'm
Good
trying to
old
think.
trusty rock never cost me.
I'm just trying to think because a lot of times Earl wins. The only time I know for a fact that Val wins is when they're arguing who gets the revolver, who gets the Winchester. And so Val wins and he gets the Winchester. Now he's thinking, yes, all right, I get the rifle. Well, then here comes Bert and Heather in their truck. It's like, you're going out to see the doctor? That's all you're having? Here, carry my I'm not sure what kind of a sniper rifle it was, but she hands it over to Earl, and now Earl is just like, "Thanks, Heather." He's got this big old rifle in his hands, and now Val is just like, "Well, shit."
Yep, the one time he loses, he still wins.
Yep. But if you were to give this movie a grading,
How would I grade Tremor? So I'm going to give this a grade A USDA certified cheesy in all of the best possible ways. This is like the king of cheese. This movie was just, it didn't take itself too serious. The fact that they did a monster movie with practical effects where 99% of the movie is outdoors in broad daylight
mm-hmm.
is commendable in and of itself. And it's a great homage to the old sci-fi horror movies of old with their cheesy monster effects and all that shit. I had a blast with this. This was just a really fun movie to turn your brain off to and just enjoy the ride.
Oh yeah. If I were to grade this, I'm out of 16 tentacles, because I think that's what it was. Each graboid had 4 tentacles. I'm giving this 15, and the 16th has its head ripped off. Old Stumpy. So I'm giving
Good
this
old Stumpy.
I'm giving this 15 and a half out of 16. This is
Wait,
just an absolute blast. It's fun. It's we've been talking about it this entire time. It's just a fun movie where its sole purpose is just to entertain you, and that's what it does very well. It succeeds completely.
there's no higher meaning. There's no social commentary. It's just go for the ride.
It's just go for a ride, try
Mutant
to
worms.
outrun these mutant worms. Where do they come from? You'll find out.
One of these days when I get around to watching the second one next week.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, dude, it is a good pick, honestly. I had fun with it.
I was hoping you would.
I guess that brings us up to the next segment. Jeff, I got you a quiz.
Hell yeah.
And this quiz, if you read up on your trivia, I think you got a pretty good chance on this one because this is the Tremors and Tremor adjacent trivia quiz.
Okay.
So it's just movie trivia. I'm going to ask you a question. If you know the answer, you got it. If you don't, then we'll move on. But
right.
Most of these have multiple answers that are acceptable, so you do have a little bit of leeway with it.
Okay.
So, being our local Tremors aficionado, I think you've got a better chance at this quiz than I would if I was having to face off against it.
All right.
So, Jeff, are you ready?
I am ready, sir.
Question number 1. As
69.
we have already talked. Nice. Question number 2. The canon name used in the films for the worms, as we have already established, is the Graboids.
Mm-hmm.
What other name is given within the series for the Graboids?
Like the other nicknames that they were given before they settled on Graboids?
Not the, I'm not looking for the ones that they listed in that first movie. Just there are other names throughout the series that I found are attributed to the Graboids. I'm looking for one of those.
The only one that's coming straight to mind was Snakeoid.
So this could be wrong. I have not watched the other movies. I'm going by things from the internet.
All right.
But that is wrong. The ones that I found that were listed as acceptable are Dirt Dragons, which I think was from number 4.
Okay.
Or the scientific name, Animalia bilitaria cephalopodia coelidia Cipolidia vermifordiae Cerdius americana. Either of those would have been acceptable for this.
Well, damn it. I just missed the second one.
So close, so close. So, question 3. Originally, the Graboid was designed with as a large worm which emerged from an armored head carapace.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they change to the snake-like tentacles coming out of the carapace's mouth?
Why did they change?
Yeah.
That I don't know.
The effects team thought it looked like an uncircumcised dick and couldn't quit laughing.
Oh, shit. Now I'm not going to be able to unsee it.
So I think that was the real reason that the snake tentacles ended up being so cheesy. It was a very late in development change that they made to the monster.
I see.
But I do think that it benefited the film. So moving on into question 4. 2 other horror veteran actors were considered for the role of Val.
Ooh.
Name one of them.
Horror?
Yep.
Experts? Ugh. Shit. I mean, the first one that's coming to Kurt Russell is one of my guesses because he did The Thing, and The Thing was huge. My other guess is, I'll say Bruce Campbell.
Well, you only had to hit one. So one of the people who was considered before they finally settled on Kevin Bacon was our boy Bill Paxton.
Really?
Yep. He could have been 4 for 4. The other 3, of course, being the Terminator, the Predator, and the Alien, but he would have survived facing off against the Graboids. And the other actor who was considered for the role of Val before they hired Kevin Bacon was, in fact, Bruce Campbell. So,
yes,
I'll give you the point.
Our boy Bruce Campbell.
They also considered for, was it Walter Chang, the store owner? Was that the guy's name?
Yes.
The original casting ideas, they had created the character as being, I think, Vietnamese. And the actor that they wanted but couldn't afford was, I can't think of his name, but Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, Pat Morita.
Pat Morita, that's it. So
he could have been Walter. Actually, no, I'm glad that they wouldn't in it because I would not want. Would I want to see Mr. Miyagi get eaten by a graboid? Or do you think he would have had it in his contract to say, no, I survived?
Hits it with the crane kick.
Exactly.
But as soon as I laid eyes on the guy that they did have, I'm like, shit, wasn't he in Big Trouble in Little China? So it was just really fun watching through this movie. But whenever they started the pre-production, that dude was like, this character you've written is Vietnamese, but I'm Chinese. Is it okay if we change it? And everyone was like, oh, shit, yeah, no problem. We're not going to try and... They didn't do the whole, you all look alike, play play the role that we're assigning
Yeah.
you. They just, no questions asked, very happily. They're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll make the character Chinese. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
Changed all the other stuff.
they respected. So I guess that's one thing you have to admire the filmmakers for this. Just like we're gonna treat everyone with respect.
And, it's a small thing, but, so many times you hear about actors who are just Asian getting crammed into not their actual, nationality whenever they're playing these parts.
Yeah.
It is nice to know that, just no questions asked. There was like, instantly, oh, yeah, he's Chinese now, changed the character and adapted and made it up.
Yeah, that's nice of them. I like hearing stuff like that.
I don't know the dude's name, but I know tons of movies he was in because he was actually in Speed Racer. He has actually caught flack because he is Japanese and refuses to play a character that isn't Japanese. I know he was also in Last Samurai and the new Mortal Kombat, for better or for worse.
This is a modern actor?
Yeah.
And we're back after some more technical difficulties. But you were talking about Ken Watanabe, right?
Absolutely, that's definitely who I was after.
Yay, computers and power.
Yeah, dude. Brownouts and nonsense. Lost just enough power to kill the monitors and almost shut down the computer, but not enough to actually kill anything.
Yeah, everyone, that was a scary moment. We thought we almost lost recording, but it's stuck in there.
All right, let's get that quiz pulled back up.
All right.
All right, so I believe your score was 2.
Sounds about right. I'm not doing terribly well this quiz.
Hey, I mean, you got the secret 69 question straight out of the gate, so...
Yes.
So question 5. Tremors is set in 1989. This was the year that the film was filmed, despite its, I believe, 1991 release date. So, Jeff, can you name another 80s film which featured sandworms?
God, I'm sure I've seen one of these movies. It's just not coming to the top of my head now. 80s sandworms. God damn it.
You're going to kick yourself,
dude. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm gonna punch myself in the dick. Go ahead. What's the answer? 2
of the answers I would have accepted were Dune from 1984 and Beetlejuice 1988.
Does Star Wars Return of the Jedi count with the Sarlacc?
Do you ever actually see that it's a worm?
You see a mouth, with tentacles. So it's about the same as a graboid. Hold on. Let me take a... Let's see. Sarlacc. Let's see. It is... It doesn't say.
You know what? Fuck it. I'll give you half credit. 2.5 points.
It is estimated to be 100 meters long.
That sounds wormy to me. You know what? Fuck it. We'll give you full credit. You came up with one that I didn't find. All you Star Wars nerds can come at me. I don't care.
Who gives a shit? Star Wars sucks. Ooh!
Shots fired.
Shots fired!
And Han shot second.
Yes, he did.
That'll piss everybody off.
Yes, it will.
Which brings us to our 6th and final question. Jeff, did you in fact know that day 1 of filming for Tremors was in fact a cold day in hell?
I have to imagine, yes, it was because they were probably shooting at night, right?
No, they shot during the day. It was a cold day in hell, and there was a very specific weather event that proves this fact on the first day of filming for Tremors. Any guess what it was?
El Nino that's a warm weather event, isn't it?
I have no idea. I did not pay attention to that part in class whenever I was in school.
What event would cause a cold day in hell? Apart from a polar vortex. You know what? Fucking polar vortex.
On day 1 of filming, in the fucking desert, it snowed and ruined most of the footage that they shot that day.
So I was right. Polar vortex. Nailed it.
That, for all I know, it was.
It's not unheard of. I certainly recall, this was maybe 10, 15 years ago, they were having a golf tournament in Scottsdale, Arizona. And, it's a desert. Well, one of the tournament days had to be postponed because they were in the middle of a blizzard. I think this was like January or February. So in the middle of winter, and Scottsdale, Arizona was having a blizzard. So it's rare, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah, imagine though being in a desert and it starts fucking snowing.
Well, during the nighttime, I get it because at night it's supposed to be a lot colder than is during the day. But I'm assuming snowing during the daytime, it's just one of those things of like, huh? What the fuck?
And I think like one of the first things they actually filmed was the scene where Val and Earl are like speeding up to Rhonda, and the
Yeah.
very first take they break the axle or some shit like that in the truck they were driving,
Mm-hmm.
or messed up the front end or some shit like that. So that's the reason you don't actually see the front end of the car during any of that scene, because they couldn't show the outside of it because he just totally destroyed it.
Well, what can you say? The Jeeps are pieces of shit. Again, shots fired.
Dude, have you ever encountered the Jeep cult? Not like the fucking rubber
Uh,
duck shit, but like, I didn't think it was real.
I worked with someone that basically was just saying like the Jeep Wrangler is the best vehicle ever made. It's just like it really is, and there was just no convincing him otherwise.
So, my buddy in the Marines, Big Dick Brandon, he bought a Jeep Wrangler. And he kept telling me, dude, the Jeep cult's real. If you ever drive a Jeep, you'll find out. No one believed me until I like hand out my keys at the barracks and let them ride in the Jeep around. The Jeep cult is real. And he kept telling me this over and over and over. And then I ended up taking a trip and had to get a rental car, and the one that I wound up with was a Jeep. And first place I stopped for gas, I think I was heading down to the beach in South Carolina. I'm getting gas, and some other dude in a Jeep pulls up. He's, pops off. He's one of those assholes who took the doors off the sumbitch. It's covered in mud, and he
Oh
cuts out.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know the
yeah.
guy.
I've seen those.
But he looks at me, he's like, "That's a nice Jeep you got there." I'm like, "It's a nice Jeep you have there." I'm like, yeah, and he starts talking about all these different things about his stuff, and he's like, "So, how long you had yours?" I'm like, first day actually." He's like, "Oh, dude, brand new. How you liking it?" I'm like, "It's pretty good. It's getting me from point A to point B. It's a rental." And like the moment he heard a rental and realized I did not own the Jeep that I was driving, like his complete disposition changed, and he called me a slur.
So that's why don't buy a Jeep.
But yeah, so the
Okay.
Jeep cult's real, and they do not like you if you are fucking renting. So keep that in mind, because I was very, very caught off guard.
I think I'll stay away from them.
But that
I feel
concludes the
safer that
quiz.
way.
So out of what turned into 6 questions, you got 4 points. So you know what? That's better than half.
That's a pass in my book, which means that my streak still continues.
We'll go with it. So congratulations, you won a copy of the home game.
Yes, best day ever.
So
But that concludes this week's episode. So now I have to ask you, what movie are you going to gift our listeners?
that is a good fucking question, because in 2.5 hours, I still haven't figured out what the fuck we're going to do. So I guess let's fly by the seat of our pants. You know what? We've had a really good run of movies. Speed Racer for me was at least a surprise hit, even if it was the TV series that you started off with as your pick.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of fun with the boys from TSMP when we did Alien,
Oh yes.
and Tremors has just made my heart absolutely happy. So there's a part of me that wants to ruin this streak, and there's a part of me that wants to keep it going. So do I listen to my shoulder demon, or do I listen to my shoulder angel?
Or do you want to go in a completely different direction? Like, we're going to be talking about this board game.
Crossed my mind as well. So I'm just going to go with my gut, and I'm going to ask myself, what can we get the most talk out of that I know is going to be a good one? So, Jeff, I know that we're going to be doing the next one in November, but you know what? We're going to keep the Spooktober going on even harder. We're going to keep it going on a little bit longer, drag this out for an extra week, and we're going to do the horror classic, Shaun of the Dead.
Yes! I saw that was one of your picks, and I was like, please pick it. Please. I fucking love that movie. That is such a good pick.
But yeah, I had like 6 different things, and I've been bouncing back and forth all day on them. But you know what? It feels right. No regrets. We're going to do Shaun of the Dead next time on DJMD.
Yes. Very exciting.
But luckily, I do actually have a recording for all of our housekeeping, so we don't have to worry about me drunkenly stumbling through that particular spiel anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I've been trying to come up with a good sign-off for us, because, I don't think we're ever going to have anything as good as Tadpog and where they stumbled into Tropical Capricorn.
No, but I think Dalton and the way his mind works, I think we should just always end the show by saying thank you for listening and go enjoy your meaty dump.
You know what? I want to take a stab at one. You know what, Jeff? It's been fun. Y'all listen. I appreciate you. And when in doubt, take it sleazy.
And to quote Ron Burgundy, good night. Good night. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. Go fuck yourself, Dodgers.